11:13 this Wednesday morning, and here are things in Weatherford, our tower cam there as we are tracking icy conditions across North Texas. And you get a little bit of a sense from that view just how much of that frozen precipitation, that ice is still on the ground there. Of course, we woke up this morning to some winter weather warnings, some icy storm warnings, and really, Mariel Ruiz, when you look at what we've seen from our reporters, our crews all across the area, we know that, boy, it is a morning you want to stay at home and turn on the heater. And according to the supply and demand chart from ERCOT, you can do that today because the supply line is that purple line at the top. That turquoise line is the demand line at the bottom. We don't want to see those lines get too close to each other, and luckily they are not. So when you can stay home and you can stay warm, that really is the best case scenario. It was a couple of years ago when the staying home part didn't necessarily mean you could stay warm, but so far for most folks, that is the case.
Absolutely, and I'm so happy to see that. Just because, you know, a couple years ago, I mean, people just remember that whenever we see any kind of winter precip. I mean, I lived through it, you lived through it, and we're right there with you. You know, it's always scary to see this. However, it's good to see that the supply, it's there. And stay home, use the supply because, I mean, the roads are just treacherous. We saw Ariel's update there at the top of that hour, and it was just really crazy to see how slick some of these roads are. I do want to emphasize that we do have the winter storm warning in place. And that's going to remain in place throughout the rest of the day. And it will continue through 9 in the morning on Thursday. We also have the ice storm warning from now until 9 on Thursday. Again, ice accumulations in this area due to freezing rain anywhere between 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. And what we're seeing now is that transition from freezing rain into sleet across a big portion of the area. A lot of this moisture was actually in central Texas early today, and it caused a mess in that area. I was checking in on some friends there, a lot of them without power. Here, we're looking at this moisture now moving back into North Texas. So we're seeing this transition across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Denton still seeing a little bit of that sleet, which is more of the ice pellets that we saw yesterday. But across the rest of the area, I mean, we are seeing this freezing rain moving in. And the freezing rain is very light. It may even be deceiving. It looks like regular rain when it's coming down, but it's when it hits the surface that it causes the issues because it freezes almost instantly. So our TIMECAST here, I'm taking you through the rest of the day. You can see it there. We're looking at that transition going back on Thursday. So let's talk totals. Anywhere between 1/4 to 1/2 an inch is what we are expecting. And this is, again, along I-35 between Gainesville to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is because of the freezing rain. This is on top of what we saw yesterday. This is not total. This is added on top of that sleet from yesterday. And this extends all the way into our western counties. It does include areas of the big country close to Abilene and south of there. Coleman also included in that. And with that being said, we also have ice accumulations outside of this area. This does include Hillsborough, Navarro County, towards Kaufman, Hunt County, portions of Rockwall as well. Anywhere between 1/10 to 1/4 in addition. That's today. Again, today, tonight is when we're expecting this. And that does extend all the way into the Red River. We're still going to see issues outside of the ice storm warning. It's just going to be a bit different depending on where you're at. As far as that ice storm warning, what it means, because we haven't seen something like that in quite some time, it actually describes damaging accumulations of ice during specifically freezing rain events. Yesterday it was more of a sleet, today it's more of a freezing rain. This is issued when more than 1/4 of an inch of ice of accumulation is expected. It varies by state, but for us specifically, it's 1/4 inch or higher, and that's exactly what our forecast calls for, 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. Now, this kind of accumulation of freezing rain, it really can cause issues, especially when we're talking about it weighing down trees, it weighing down utility lines, as well as anything as simple as walking and driving. It is extremely dangerous. We are looking at impacts. Anything underneath 1/4 of an inch is going to see impacts on windshields that are covered. We already saw that. We saw that yesterday. Anything between 1/4 to 1/2 an inch, which is what we're expecting, is when we're going to start to see some pretty big impacts. Roads turning icy. We're already seeing that. Tree limbs may start to break whenever this happens, and more power outages. Unfortunately, this last part, that's what happened in central Texas this morning. Anywhere between 1/2 an inch to an inch plus, which will be very unlikely for us, but some isolated spots, maybe in our southern counties. This is where roads start to be really impassable. Tree damage can be major at this point. So our TIMECAST here across North Texas, the Metroplex, we're going to just see this on and off freezing rain, really expected the rest of the afternoon. I'm showing you the timeline here. Wednesday, 5, 6, 7 in the evening, we'll continue to see this. So definitely want to make sure to stay safe out there, stay inside, avoid the roads. I know we keep saying the same thing over and over again, but this won't be completely out. You heard Greg, it won't be completely out of here until Thursday afternoon, and we don't warm up until this weekend. In fact, this weekend, sunshine, highs in the 50s on Saturday, 60s on Sunday. Can't wait for that, Mark.
60s is going to feel like summertime practically after this
Treat.
week. Thank you for that, Mariel.